Welcome, I'm Rogers Anderson, Williamson County's mayor. As we travel around the county, today I have the distinct honor and pleasure to talk to Dr. Mayor Ken Moore. Thanks for being with us.
Rogers, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, and always good to see you. We see a lot of each other during the week and sometimes on the weekend, and do a lot of things together as far as elected positions, and so what an honor to be on your show.
So today, we want to spend time talking about 2018 in Franklin, the accomplishments that you've had, and what's on the drawing board for 2019. It's that time of the year where we kind of roll in and roll out a new year, and I know that 2018 has been a monumental year for you in Franklin, and certainly as a chief elected officer in Franklin, as their mayor. Some of the accomplishments have just been fantastic. But before we go there, people sometimes want to know about their mayors, the personal life. What did you do? Where were you raised at? How did you wind up in Franklin, Tennessee? And above all, why did you decide to get into politics?
Well, I think we always think we know where our footsteps are going to lead us, but I think God puts us in some positions where we end up where He wants us to be, and I kind of feel like that's been my entire life. You know, I always wanted to be a physician growing up. Never thought about being anything else.
Now, was your dad or mom a physician?
No, my father was Tennessee Valley Authority, and my mom was a homemaker. You know, they always kind of expected all of us kids to go to college, but I must have been 9 or 10 or something. I said, I'm going to be a doctor, and of course, that made them proud. I didn't realize, what am I going to do if I don't make it? Because, I mean, the pass-fail rate is a pretty stiff curve. So, I ended up going to medical school, and ended up going to the Army for a couple of years after my internship. And then I came back to Memphis to do a general surgery residency, and with the idea of going into orthopedic surgery. So I was blessed to get into Campbell Clinic, one of the top programs in the country, and did my orthopedic training there. And one of my fellow medical school classmates, he and I always visioned that we wanted to practice orthopedics in a little different setting than what was the trend then. The trend then was everybody went to a big city. We wanted to go to a smaller community. And so he and I had the vision we wanted to start in a small community, and we went around the state and had some scary stories to tell about places we visited, but we visited Columbia, Tennessee, and it was just ripe for an orthopedic practice. The community was growing, the hospital was growing, and so I practiced there.
What year was that?
1975 is when the practice started, and I joined it in 76. So
a lot of changes in Maury County, Columbia particularly.
Well, absolutely.
You migrated to Franklin?
Well, I practiced 28 years in 3 months, and one day I told Linda, I said, I think I'm going to retire. And she looked at me and she said, Linda's my wife, of course, and she said, well, I'm moving home. And I kind of looked at her and I thought, well, let me think about this. We've got our friends. We have this house, I got my golf game, and we're moving home. Of course, Linda always told such great stories about growing up in Franklin, and I didn't have that continuity of schools like Linda did, because my father was TVA and we moved around quite a bit. But she just described such a wonderful childhood, and of course, she always wanted to move back, and I was smart enough to say, well, let's try it. So we bought a house, and we'd kind of live back and forth. And pretty soon, she was living up here all the time, and I was down there back and forth. And so we said, well, let's cut the ties and move to Franklin. So, I never anticipated I was going to be part of the city organization and being mayor or being alderman when I came here. My background was such that when I was in practicing orthopedics, I was in a lot of leadership roles. I was president of the Tennessee Orthopedic Society, and I got a call from the Tennessee Medical Association lobbyists, and they said, we have 3 scope of practice bills, and you need to come help us on them. And they told me what they were, and I won't tell you what I said, but so I ended up working with the Tennessee General Assembly for a 2-year period and working on all those bills, and we came up with some good solutions that not only were acceptable to the medical community and orthopedic community, but also the particular professions that were trying to change their scope of practice. The other thing that was significant is that Lamar Alexander was a friend of Linda's family. Her brother had had gone to college with Lamar, and there were about 5 of them that ran around a lot, and Lamar spent a lot of time at Linda's house, the Crowell house, and so Lamar called me and he said, "I'm running for president. I want you to help me raise money from doctors." Well, those that don't know, doctors aren't necessarily generous for political things. They've got their mind elsewhere, which is not bad. And so I was overly successful in raising money for Lamar for president among doctors. And then as such, all of a sudden people said, "Well, I want you to help on this campaign." So I helped on a number of campaigns. I helped on Senator Frist's first senatorial campaign. I helped on state elections, federal elections, and had a good time doing it and developed a lot of friendships doing that. After we moved to Franklin, I was sitting with one of my really good friends who we had done a lot of political things together, and he just looked at me and said, "You ought to run for alderman." And it was kind of one of those aha moments. I just said, "Okay, I think I will." Well, I didn't realize what I was getting into because there were 14 people running for 4 spots. And so I had to scramble to figure out how to do that. And of course, I had some great advice and some great supporters, and the fact that my wife was from here and still knew a lot of people, that was a big help to me. So had a good time being alderman. I was very happy to be an alderman, honored to be an alderman, and suddenly find out that I'm the vice mayor and the mayor is going to TDOT. And I'm speaking of Commissioner Schroer. And so all of a sudden I was walking into the mayor's role, and the election was going to be that year. And all of a sudden the question was not, "Are you running for alderman? Are you running for mayor?" And the answer was yes. So I ran successfully in 2011 and again in 2015. And then, of course, we have another election next year. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity again.
I've had the opportunity to know you since you've been to Franklin, particularly mostly in the political arena, but you've been very successful, and I know that you give credit just like Jill Bergen did with as the mayor of Brentwood, and I do here. It's really the staff. You and I are the figureheads. We raise the money. We have to campaign. We ask people to give us money to support ideas for our community, but at the end of the day, it's city manager style of government that you all have over here. It's a little bit different form of government, but you've been blessed with 2 great city managers here. And if you go back 25 years, you even had another one that was there forever and ever.
We've been blessed with great leadership in the city organization, and we've been blessed with dedicated employees. We have over 700 employees that every day they love going to work, they love working with each other, they have great pride, and there's so many stories I hear, whether it's our sanitation environmental service employees that someone says something to them and they say, "Oh, okay, we'll take care of that too." Or I remember one incident where our streets department was they had a contractor out repaving a neighborhood, and the contractor damaged a mailbox. Seemed like kind of a minor thing maybe, but for you to go back to the contractor, get him to fix the mailbox, it would be a lot of hoops to jump through. So this citizen called the streets department, and they said, "Oh, okay, we'll just come fix it." So rather than delaying or anything, they just have great pride and want make sure they're serving the community, and they do a fabulous job, every one of our employees.
Yeah, we are so blessed to have good men and women that serve in this community. What any one of our 6 cities, I'm sure that all the mayors would say the same thing. The city mayors, city managers say the same thing. So 2018, we're closing down on it at the end of December. I don't even know where to start with all the things you've got going on in Franklin. And I should point out to the audience that's watching us today on the interview that Ken's a part-time mayor that works full-time. And I don't know of many meetings that, whereas my job is full-time, but I don't know many meetings that you're not involved at, particularly at the regional level. But you have those night meetings just like I do. Our jobs start early and they go late. And if you don't love it, I mean, for people that want to run and get into the political arena, I say, come on in. The water is fine, but it is a very, very large amount of time that you have to take away from your family. And there's very few times you can go anywhere that somebody's not talking to you or say, well, let me tell you how to really fix that, or let me tell you about a problem to fix.
Well, you're right. There's a lot of swimming upstream.
Yeah,
sometimes.
always. It's just part of it.
You know, I don't know how to do a job and not do it right.
That's right.
And I think that this job requires a lot of attention right now, particularly as fast as we're growing. And the fact that we have so many capital projects and capital needs going on, and we're viewed by many cities as the trendsetter, the leader in a lot of the things that are happening. And so I enjoy the role. Like I say, sometimes like swimming upstream. But, you know, like my Fridays, I typically don't do much on Friday. I might grab some meetings, but then, you know, I might go to the golf course, you know.
Well, you're not playing golf today. It's rainy. So
yeah, no, I'm not going to play.
You might as well just do an interview. Tell us a little bit about the things that have just finished 2018 for Franklin. I know you had a mammoth project that you did.
Well, we just broke ground on our new wastewater plant. It'll be the largest single capital I assume that's what you're talking about. The largest single capital project that the city has ever done. Over $132 million. $100 million is going through the state revolving loan fund. It'll save our citizens over $30 million in interest. The interest rate we have is 1.47%. So we've broken ground on that, and that's going to be about a 30-month project to complete. It increases the capacity, but most importantly, it changes the way we do things. Right now we have old technology, old equipment, and we need to progress into newer technologies. We'll be co-generating gas and electricity at the plant. Our biosolid process, which is the end result of treatment of solid waste, wastewater, will now be something that, you know, we could sell it as fertilizer, we could put it in mulch, we could handle it, we could sell it to a farmer and so on. So it'll be a Class A exceptional quality. And the other thing that's important, our plant right now, most people think is probably the best performing plant in the state of Tennessee. And we're going to step it up another notch even with what we're going to be doing as far as the refinement of the wastewater that we'll be treating. The big news is that next Tuesday, that's still 2018, and there's going to be a governor and a TDOT commissioner, and I hope you'll be there, and we're going to be out there where Mac Hatcher dead ends into Hillsborough Road doing a groundbreaking for a project that we've been waiting on for a long, long time. And we're so excited that that's finally coming to fruition. And that's Mac Hatcher Northwest Extension. We think that's an important project. We've invested a lot of money in it from the city standpoint and investing additional money to build a multipurpose trail along that road. So that'll be kicking off next Tuesday at 11:30 with the governor. I think the other thing is we continue to be blessed with a lot of recognitions, and one that I think is particularly important is that we were recognized as a lead city. You know, we've worked hard on being a sustainable community for a number of years as far as recycling, energy usage, and things of that nature. But our Sustainability Commission worked to get us the designation of a silver lead city. That's leadership in energy and environmental design. And what that means is that we're the only city in the Southeast that's even made that designation. And the designation's important, and it's nice to have that on your wall, but the most important thing is it gives us a lot of parameters that we can measure going forward on how we're doing in some of those areas. So that's a great thing that happened this year. We continue to struggle in certain areas, though, and certainly transportation issues continue to be a challenge for our community, and we're looking at a lot of capital projects to work on to improve transportation, traffic, and also we're continuing to look at housing. You know, the board this year changed the land use plan for the property on Hillsborough Road that's called The Hill next to the Sonic, and we'll be looking transitioning next year to maybe having some type of design that we create for what we think it should be, and then sending that out for proposals. And the goal is to create more housing so there's more opportunities for teachers, firemen, policemen, and other people to live in our community, which if they have to drive in from elsewhere is a big traffic challenge.
Ken, let you catch your breath a minute. I mean, I don't know that any of us can ever get 100% ahead of traffic issues. I think oftentimes, people may not see all the improvements that are occurring. And as indicated to the mayor of Brentwood, all they can do is deal with Brentwood city limits. All that Franklin can do is deal with Franklin city limits. And there's so much that goes on in the world of traffic or roads or infrastructure needs that requires cooperation between cities and counties and states. They're doing a major road improvement right now from Concord Road down to Linwood Way on Franklin Road. That's a 100% state project. Widening it, opening it up, take a couple of years to finish it off. And I know you all have done major road improvements, even at McHatcher. You've put millions of dollars in it to help get it up on the chart so that it would get done. There's no other way to put it. Now you're going to put a trail in beside it. But it takes a long time for roads. It takes an enormous time. Many people, and I was living here in the late 80s, and those that are watching the show may know the exact date, but we had a tornado to come through. McHatcher was just a field. They just started grading it, and it came across to the north side, I guess, of Franklin High School, but it kind of traveled the path of where the McHatcher Road is now. It was very deadly and devastating, but there was no road there. That was in the late 80s. Mm-hmm. Here we are in 2018, some 40 years later. Is that 40 years? 30 years? 9, 10, 30 years later, and we're still trying to get McHatcher put on there. It just takes, I heard Governor Haslam, and I'm sure you've heard him say it too, from the infant stages of planning a road to the time that you're actually able to drive on it could be 6, 8, 10, or 12 years out. The decisions that he made for roads, for the most part, were made by the prior governor. The decisions he's making now will be for Governor-elect Bill Lee.
Well, kind of my rule of thumb, it's about 10 years.
Yeah.
And some of our roads are a lot longer than 10 years. You know, we've been talking a long time about Northwest McHatcher, but, you know, at the same time, we're talking about, we have to submit a list of roads that we think are roads that need to occur or need to be improved every year to the MPO, and of course there's a process for evaluating those, and one of the most critical right now is southeast Mac-Hatcher widening. That's a real bottleneck in our community, and I just noticed that they've awarded some engineering money to that particular project, so that's good news. That means, like you say, it's starting to get in the pipeline now, and we're going to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel on that one.
So many people don't realize that we've got our needs, but so does that other city and that other county and the other part of the state. And there's only so many defined dollars that even though were successful across the state a couple of years ago at getting the Improved Act put in, there's just as many communities out there, maybe not growing like Franklin or Rutherford or Davidson County is growing, but there's so many needs. I've heard them talk about the interchange, I think it's called Poplar Avenue down in Memphis, Tennessee, where FedEx, the main road, and just to make that mile and a half, 2 mile stretch is something like $250,000 because you're setting in where major businesses are.
$250 million.
I said, yeah, billion, excuse me, not a million.
They wish it was $250 million.
They'd be doing that tomorrow, wouldn't they? And those projects are all over our state. And then you get into the cost of land that we have here in the Middle Tennessee area. That's the values that TDOT has to pay for that land. They don't get a special rate on that.
No, and whenever we have to take right-of-way, we don't get a special rate either. I'm sure we're paying more than the average customer would. But it's necessary for us to continue to grow, and the idea of us growing in an orderly fashion, that's what it takes.
Well, and I mean, since I'm talking about the roads, Highway 96 leaving Franklin, right around Arno Road, we're working on Arno Road. We'll be widening that over the next 2 years and then fixing up the interchanges. But if you continue on out of Highway 96 to Arrington, towards Triune, to Rutherford County, the state's very much in the process of widening that road.
Well, they've awarded the funding for part of the widening.
Yes.
And I think they're getting the right-of-way for the rest of it. So things are happening. It's at a much slower pace than what us as elected officials want. And it's certainly slower than our citizens want, but it's, I guess it's comparable to what we do as a city with our capital projects. We have over $700 million worth of capital project needs over the next 10 years. Well, we don't have 700 million, no. but we probably have somewhere in the range of a couple of $100 million. So it's important that we prioritize and rank those projects and pick the ones that make the most difference for our community. And one of them I need to mention is Franklin Road. We'll be bidding that next year. And
that will be from what point to what point?
That's going to be from the bridge across the Harpeth River all the way out to past the factory going north.
So will they be replacing the bridge or just the road?
No, the bridge is going to be replaced too. The TDOT has awarded money for that, and it's interesting that bridge, it really acts more like partially like a dam now. So whenever they rebuild that bridge, it will actually lower the floodplain on a number of properties in Franklin and get some of those homes out of the floodplain.
They just gave me the sign. We've got 5 minutes, and we haven't even talked about 2019. So you got 4 minutes now. Talk to us a little bit about what's on the drawing board for Franklin for this coming year.
Well, I think probably Franklin Road is going to be an important one because there are no sidewalks on Franklin Road, and that's been a big safety issue in many of our aldermen's mind and my mind and many of our citizens' minds. So we'll be bidding that in the spring, and we'll be breaking ground next year on that project. We continue to move forward on Columbia Avenue. We've picked a design concept for it. We've picked the accesses on Columbia Avenue, so we'll be moving on toward starting to get right-of-way on that project and finishing up the drawings. But still, that project will be 4 or 5 years out before it can be completed. Then McEwen, East McEwen, from Cool Springs to Wilson Pike. That's a fully funded project, and we'll be hopefully working on the right-of-way for that. And
Taking the curves out of that road now?
you like those, don't you? You know, it's a very narrow, curvy, dangerous road, and we'll be building a 4-lane road, and it's a difficult project because a lot of it's got a lot of slope challenges, got a lot of rock, so it's a $20+ million project. So it'll be exciting to get that done to improve safety in that area.
Building
it's just
what?
money.
It's just money. That's all it is it?
And we're looking at some technology that'll be happening next year, adaptive signal control in the Cool Springs area on Mallory and Cool Springs. Basically what that means is that currently our signals operate on algorithms based on computations that our engineers do. But this will be a lifetime signal control, so that technology will be able to detect traffic flow and determine how to direct traffic so things will move along a little quicker.
Ken, we got a couple of minutes left. I may have overlooked something or you've thought of something that you might want to touch on. If that's the case, now's the time to do it.
Well, I think that probably people need to know that you and I, neither one sit isolated in Williamson County or sit isolated in Franklin. We're actively working on a regional basis to make sure that we're all working together in the region to improve the quality of life that we all experience and improve those projects from roads to many of the other services we do. And it's an honor to work with you and many of the other mayors. I think it's really important to know that we may have political parties that we favor, but whenever we sit down as mayors in the region, we sit down and we talk about the issues we have. We talk about transportation, we talk about solid waste, we talk about tourism, we talk about a lot of things that are in common that affect all of us, and we talk about it in such a way that we're trying to find solutions. So I think that's refreshing in this time.
I think, only to hitchhike on your concept there, that a lot of the people would be really surprised and maybe even shocked to realize just how much the cities and counties all do work together and try to form those alliances that is best for our citizens and best for the pocketbook of each of our departments. I'm very proud to be the county mayor. I love it just like you love your job. And it's refreshing, like yesterday, you see all the city mayors and myself sitting there and carrying on the dialogue, because you and I both know that doesn't always happen across this state.
We're blessed in this county that we have great relationships with all of our mayors, with our state elected officials, and I think we have great relationships with our federal elected officials. So that's really important to have the ability to talk to each other.
Great way to end the show. Got to go. Rogers Anderson with Dr. Ken Moore, the mayor of Franklin, good friend and a good mayor. See you around as we catch you the next time we have the show. Have a good day.